Cool.
Okay. Awesome.
Great. Well, here we are. So
Here we are.
if you'd like to just introduce who you are,
Sure.
name, and your role at BounceBack.
At BounceBack. My name is Phoenix Normand, and I am the founder and creator of BounceBack. And it's what BounceBack is an online community, most specifically, that is really composed of people who are looking to master their physical health, their emotional health, as well as their financial health and success. And the concept around that is kind of born out of COVID, when we were all sort of locked away for 2 years. Really, just I noticed in my friend circles, in my sort of business peers, and all of that, there was a lot of unrest, if you will. People got fat. They gained what they call the COVID-15. Mine was like the COVID-20. They, it was such a strange time. So the emotional health component was something that really sort of stuck with me. And how people were just kind of forced into, coping situations that they'd never been in before, and trying to just make things work. Parents for the first time, sad to say, having to be parents full time, 24/7, 365. And just, for instance, single people that didn't have anyone and maybe weren't in relationships, having to deal with being isolated for so long. I noticed that there was a lot of malaise, if you will, that was sort of going on. And it was something that I always felt I wanted to address at some point. And that included my own. I mean, I was traveling the world before that for 30 weeks a year, being in front of people for, the space of a day or two or whatever, but still having, lots of in-person conversations and lunches together and teaching, people from all around the world. And overnight, that was ended once all the borders closed. So I then had to sort of deal with my own emotional health of, okay, I'm isolated. I'm not in a relationship. I'm by myself. My parents are, 5 hours that way. And I'm also now struggling with possibly having to close my business because my business was predicated on being able to travel, which I was no longer able to do. And I had no idea how long that was going to be. So as you can imagine, that was sort of like an emotional component that I'd never had to deal with before. And then from a financial perspective, I think a lot of people, we hear all the time about the businesses that got wiped out during COVID. And that includes small businesses that were like mine, owner operator type of businesses. So if you hadn't built up a bit of a nest egg before, they always say that 6 months of sort of emergency reserves in the bank, then you were kind of screwed. And if, depending upon the business that you were in, what do you do? I mean, it really created ruin for a lot of people. I know many, many people who ended up moving home because that was literally all they could do. And having to either bankrupt out or just, tell their creditors, I'll pay you when I get it, that sort of thing. So all of that sort of in aggregate really sort of created BounceBack. I've always been a believer that everyone at some point either deserves or will at some point create their own bounce back from a really bad adversity. And I thought, I've done it way too many times. How can I show people how to do that, how to bounce back, how to sort of create the type of resiliency that I didn't even know I had created until COVID hit, how to be able to get through that and be okay. And then once you're, on sort of level footing, how to thrive beyond that. So that again, you can create a situation where you're never caught off guard like that again. God forbid another pandemic hit, but if it did, you'd be fine. And that's what I want other people to sort of set their lives up as. So that's really what Bounce Back is all about. It's really, again, just trying to master, I always feel that I call it the 3 pillars. When you're in, peak, physical condition, when you've got your sort of emotional health together, be that, you're seeing a therapist or you're not, or you at least have a community or people that you can go to have those frank discussions and those discussions that no one's judging you, but you need to get it out. Or if you need a shoulder, if you're really, really struggling, you know, getting that component sort of dialed in your life, as well as the finances. I mean, I can't tell you how many marriages have ended over finances, relationships have been broken over finances, business deals have collapsed over finances. When all those three things are nailed, in my opinion, that's when you're truly living your best life, because you don't have a lot of the sort of, societal worries that sort of create living a good life, so to speak. You're in good shape. Your mind is right, and your money's right. So I think if you nail those, then you can pepper in things like uh, relationships and sexuality. I know that's a big issue these days, and all of that. That's kind of in my opinion, icing on the cake. But you got to get those three together, and that's really what I'm here for. I feel I've gotten pretty good at it after 53 years on this planet, and myself, as well as a bunch of experts who are friends or peers that I've worked with, or have either done business with or whatever else. I'm sort of circling wagons and bringing people into a community that I feel will help them master those three pillars. And I'm just as much of a participant as everyone else. So I think if you can master all three together and at the same time, then you're unstoppable. That's essentially. And that's kind of the idea of BounceBack.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit more about what the levels are of participation for people that will be available?
Yeah.
Like I know we've talked about you can have this sort of experience of the community, and then you can also go beyond that. And so if you could just kind of explain what your vision for that is.
Sure. I think, I've found that when you join communities, you get a smattering of, three types of people. You get people that are just curious and want to know what it's all about and just want the basics, like, don't give me the fluff. If I want to go there, I'll go there. But, I just want to be part of it because I know it's something successful. But, for whatever reason, they may not want to commit to like the more hardcore levels, for instance, or they just can't afford it. It's just that simple, and there's no shame in that. So there'll be sort of like a very basic level that gets you into the community. I'm also a big believer, and most people think about community, they're like, why isn't that free? Well, I'm a big believer that when you pay attention. Someone taught me that long ages ago. So but then also there's sort of an intention around really not just lurking. It's easy to do that when things are free, I found. But when, and the fee will be nominal, but it's more of really sort of, it's sort of subconscious way forcing you to participate. Communities only work when you have participation. So my thing is, if you feel an onus to participate, then it helps the community grow and to get really, really good at solving, their own problems, so to speak, being there for one another, being that sort of accountability factor that a lot of people don't have in their lives. And also just a little bit of competition never hurt anyone. You know what I mean? Like if you see someone that's losing weight a little bit faster than you are and you're on the exact same program, you might want to like step it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Do one or two extra sets. That's the things that, those are the things about community that I love, because they're, it's fun. It's fun. It's engaging. It can be such a place of just solace, if you will, a place of inspiration, the family you didn't have even to certain degrees. And that's another reason why. So, that sort of very basic community level, that will always be part of anything that I ever do. A level up from that is, people that are a bit more hardcore, meaning since I'm bringing in experts to in those three categories at first, and then several others later, I want people to also be able to really find something that's a bit more tailored to what their situation is, meaning having people meet them where they're at instead of just giving them more of a generalized approach to whatever. And I'm that guy. I know most of the people probably watching this are kind of that person as well. You want something where you feel special, where you feel that your specific needs are being addressed, as opposed to just getting like, the general Kool-Aid, so to speak. And I definitely want to serve that audience, because I'm typically that audience. And then the third level is, that's beyond hardcore. This is what I call my mastermind group. And these are people, from any walk of life, but I mean, it's the top tier, meaning you have one-on-one specialized service with the experts. You have, plans that are, dialed specifically to exactly where you are, and be that on the physical side, that's, certain testing that needs to be done to figure out kind of what your levels are in certain things, which means specific diets will be prescribed. Specific training programs will be prescribed according to where you are physically, and that will all be mapped out as well. For instance, on the emotional side, I've got, several therapists that are part of BounceBack, and you'll be able to sort of like match you up specifically with someone that sort of fits your style. If you click or not, that's really what it comes down to. You have to click. It's not, no, let me be clear. Part of that isn't necessarily, therapy sessions included in that price. It's more that it gives you access to those people, meaning, you'd probably get 1 or 2 lessons for free, but then you would work separately with that particular professional to figure out what the pricing structure is that they need, buy as many of this, that, or the other that you need, et cetera. And then for, like, for instance, the financial component, that's really, doing a financial audit, looking at your finances right now. What does your investment strategy look like? And sort of really parsing through that with a financial expert. Looking at, what your investment plans are from this point to whatever it is that your whatever goal you're trying to reach. And really dialing that in and being really, really clear about how to get there, about how long it will take, and potentially how much money, you could, potentially grow that into from where it is right now. I can't imagine someone not wanting to know and have a very specific plan for their life, that includes those 3 factors, and have it be done in such a way where it is crystal clear. You have, weekly, monthly check-ins depending upon the pillar. And the type of accountability that I think really, really busy people like executives and, people that have tons of kids and stuff like that they need someone to almost kind of direct them into what to do. You tell me what to do, I'll do it. I'm that guy as well sometimes when I get really busy. And that's really what that sort of more, that top tier, that more mastermind group is. Because if you think about it, people have to go to several different places, disparate places, in order to get all of these things. I look at BounceBack as that one place you can go that gives you access to all of that information and all of those experts in one nice, neat, tidy little package. You're not having to go here for this and over here for this and over here for this and try to keep count and record of everything. It's all right there. It'll all be tracked on the website. It's a gated area where, the information that's specific to you will be there. So you just go in there and voila, you have everything that you need. So those 3 levels, that sort of very basic community level, the sort of go hards, I like to call them, which is the second level. And then the ones that are, really, really trying to dial in, the mastermind group, I like to call it. And those discussions are really, really deep and interesting as well. So that's kind of like a general idea of what the levels look like.
That was great. That was a great, already just like such a good button on the value and sort of like mission statement, I guess. Tell me a little bit about how LA fits into or caused you to kind of generate this whole notion, and like how it plays a role in BounceBack's development for you.
Absolutely.
And history.
LA is a very interesting place and kind of a seminal place, so to speak. When I originally came here, it was, I won't say with a dream, it's not cliche, like, oh, I came to LA to be an actor or anything like that. It was really more, I knew for a fact that I wanted to own a business. And at the time, when I originally came to Los Angeles, I had started a luxury candle company, for instance. And I already had sort of built an audience, and I thought, hey, Los Angeles, fancy homes. They probably like candles. They like their houses smelling great. So I moved down here. That went well. But what I found, and oddly enough, where bounce back, maybe that sort of emotional health component is is that I enjoyed what I did, but to a point. When it became a business, instead of just pure craftsmanship, that's when it just got to be drudgery. I enjoyed it. I loved making the candles, for instance. Like I made them all by hand, me, only me. Um, but that's only sustainable when you've got orders of 200 candles and then 500 candles. And I got an order for 1,000 candles. And you have to plan that out over time. And not just that, but then there's the whole aspect of everybody wants, wholesale pricing. So you're dealing with the pricing structures that don't feel right. You're dealing with the logistics of getting the hard components in quantities enough to be able to fulfill these orders. Then there's the whole thing about shipping, and it's shipping glass, so there's breakage. There's all, you know what I mean. So it's all these moving parts that at scale just become almost overwhelming if you don't have help. And at the time, hiring help was, I think I'm a bit of a control freak, so I am my own worst enemy in certain respects. So it was just difficult for me to sort of let go. And that, again, from the emotional health component, that was because of stuff that happened prior in my jobs and in my family and stuff like that. So I had trust issues. Let's be honest. So that's really, in a weird way, I think that's kind of how BounceBack, or at least the idea of BounceBack, started, because I thought it would be really, really nice to go online and just sort of find something where like a community where other candle makers are, which I did. I found candle makers that were kind of going through similar issues and stuff like that. But there was always still this weird, almost level of competition. Like you don't want to reveal too much as you try to help someone else. So it just felt a little inauthentic. So it didn't really resonate. Long story short, ended up moving away. And then I moved back to Los Angeles for a role that was, supposed to be this big, grand, fancy role, something that I always wanted in an industry that I was really interested in. And it turned out to be a complete flop. It was a fluke. It was, oversold, way oversold as opposed to what it was. And just ended in a fiery mess. So, when that happens, you're employed one day, you're kind of essentially unemployed the next day. That sort of flash of stress and trying to find your next gig is, that was sort of like that other part too of, bouncing back. Like, you might have me down, but it won't be for long. That sort of onus, that fire. So I was able to, the beauty of it, because of a community, I was able to reach out to my community and literally sent like a text out saying, who's hiring? And I got a call that evening, like, your timing is perfect. And here's why. And sure enough, in the space of about 36 hours, I had a brand new job, and I was on a plane to go and help friends, for instance. If they had an Airbnb business, I was on a plane to help them as their new sort of, operations manager, help build out a bunch of Airbnbs for them in a location that they just moved into. So that's when the sort of community aspect really hit, where I was like, there's some power in that. The fact that this many people have my back, yet we never see each other or rarely see each other like in person. This is just like a community I built online all this time. So that really kind of stuck. And then, obviously with the financial component, like just in general, like I said, COVID, when that happened, and all this in LA, by the way, it really struck a nerve where I was blowing through my savings just to keep the lights on, and I know I was lucky enough because I had already, kind of put quite a bit of money away, but watching it dwindle and dwindle and dwindle and just think how much it took just to make that money and then just to watch it go out with every check that I was making and not enough coming in to sort of, bridge that gap. It was sad, oddly enough. But it was also one of those things where I always promised myself I would never be in that position again, and I would never want anyone else to be in that position again. So LA for me, um, it was bittersweet in the sense that it taught me everything about bouncing back, about resilience, about opportunity. Oddly enough, um, and I've had some incredible times in Los Angeles, but it also taught me um, what matters, and that things aren't free. Happiness is not free here. Happiness is really what you make it. If you have it here, then it spreads there. And as cliche as that sounds, Los Angeles taught me that. I remember I had a really good friend. We would go out on Thursdays and that was our thing. We would go and hang at a restaurant and like do a bit of a boozy walk from the restaurant to the taco truck, and then from the taco truck to another bar that served a certain other drink. And it was a beautiful time because it was time that I got to spend with him and hang out and really just have those good, deep brother on brother conversations. And that is kind of the other part of Bounce Back that really sort of stuck with me is I miss that. Like I miss having those conversations. I miss my friends. I miss being around a bunch of people kind of with, I won't say with similar values. Our values are all over the map, but but have like a similar passion or similar sort of like view on life. Not necessarily agree, not necessarily be from the same political party. That's not it. It's more around, they sort of come together with the same heart, if you will, and that allows them to be vulnerable, to open up, to really speak frankly with one another, to hold one another accountable, and to call BS on, whining or all of that stuff. And my question is, where is that in our society now? I'm sorry, social doesn't give you that. You have to be in front of those people. You need that one eye to eye connection. You need that heart on heart connection. You need to, give someone a shoulder if they burst into tears, and because it's just been too much. And like, that's the one time that they're able to just get it off their chest. I don't see that, and it makes me nervous. We're seeing it in how people are acting, and and I feel horribly, for instance, about the homeless population here in Los Angeles. Who's taking care of them from an emotional perspective? I've had the chance to actually speak with just randomly with people who were homeless that wanted to talk, and I'm like, I'm game. Why not? And it really struck home with me how left out they feel in a city, in a country, in a nation, and really a world that's wealthy, that apparently has everything it needs to solve their problems, including helping them figure out how to solve their own problems. But for some reason, they, it seems like everyone refuses to do it just because they're quote unquote the have-nots. And, I remember the two people I spoke to specifically. One was an ex-lawyer who ended up with a drug problem that, where he lost his family, and how that story goes. And then another one was like a nurse who kind of just lost it, saw too much trauma, and lost her kids, lost everything, and ended up on the streets. And I just, not that Bounce Back is going to solve that, but it really made me realize that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what your circumstance, you still need someone to, low key depend on. I always love to say, I am my brother's keeper. And I don't think we act in that way anymore. It's so divisive, and it's so, what's in it for me, as opposed to how can I help? And I want to live in a world and a community Whoa. Whoa. Sorry. Waterworks. What's this all about? Oh man. Sorry. Um, ugh. That's so weird. Sorry. I want to live in oh, this is so lame. I want to live in a world and a community where um I feel someone knows that I've got their back. And I want to I want to feel like someone has my back. There's been times where I felt completely alone and with no recourse. And even just someone saying something nice or emojiing the hell out of a comment that I write. Um, it'd be really nice to live or to have a community, even if it's only online, where people care about one another. They care about each other's experience in this life. They champion the wins, and like I said, they call BS on the whining. They'll show up in some way to help you over that last hurdle. They're happy sort of sucking at something together until they all get it, and then they help each other figure out the hacks in order to be really good at it. That ultimately is what I'm trying to create with BounceBack, because I just think after what the number that COVID did on us, we need some kindness back, and I don't want that to sound Pollyanna. It's just the truth. We need some kindness. We need some, accountability to one another. And we need to champion one another and help us all be better. And regardless of your title, your status, how many likes you have on your freaking socials and all this other BS that makes no sense to me and is worth zero on Judgment Day. I think we have the opportunity to be together in a place where we again really work on those three pillars and make sure that we have what we need and are able to sort of help supply that for one another, and specifically just that sense of community and having someone's back and just having their attention and their intention. That's really all we can ask for in life, to be honest with you. So, and sorry for the waterworks. That was weird.
But that was exactly perfect.
Oh my God, that was so weird. That was so weird. Oh my God, that was just like, it just hit me. That's so crazy. Okay.
That was great.
I know you were probably like, what is going on right now?
No, it just gave me flashbacks into the tunnel, because I was like, I was thinking, one of the things that makes that so special is that you were very genuinely emotional in that interview too.
Yeah.
And most interviews, as you know, they're very surface level,
Yeah.
like rational, like explaining something.
Yeah.
So the last thing I expected was that for this,
I
but
was not.
that is like.
Get me talking about a passion, and next
That's,
thing you know,
couldn't be better than that.
That was crazy. I feel better though.
Good. Do you want to take a break?
No, I'm actually good.
Keep going.
If there's more. As long as my eyes aren't puffy.
They're not.
Okay, good. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
You're doing a very good job.
I was trying to.
Yeah,
I
would be probably calling you. So, tell me what the next steps for you are with BounceBack.
For me, I feel like this mad, scientist in the lab, like trying to create an experience that sort of aligns with what people want. That's really what it comes down to. Like, let's be honest, this is a business. And if I'm asking people to pay any, like even more than $1, then I need to be able to provide value. I know I can. It's just being able to sort of put it in a way that, it's a quick hit. Like, you can get what you need as quickly as possible and make it happen. So, with BounceBack specifically, I think about, for instance, the the physical fitness aspect of that. We all want to look great. We all want the six packs. We all want to look lean and all this other stuff. I'm working on that, by the way. So cut me some slack, would you? But the whole concept around that is I want people, and I've learned this from once being a personal trainer, working now with a celebrity personal trainer who's actually going to be in BounceBack. I still believe people just want that quick hit, meaning what can I do that doesn't force me into a gym for 3 hours a day? I'm not doing 2-a-days. I don't have time. I've got kids. I've got, stuff. What can I do that is intense, but highly effective in the shortest amount of time possible, spread over, a certain amount of time? And my thing is, that's my job, meaning let me query everybody I know. Let me look at all the best programs, go to all the best experts, et cetera, and find out how I can serve, that in a nice, neat, easy package on a monthly basis, meaning the physical fitness side is really just a bunch of community challenges. Because I think, hey, if you're going to suffer with someone else that you like or don't know or whatever else, and that way it's more fun because you're not suffering alone. Trust me. And but I love the thought of being able to sort of do that amongst a community, because again, you have the accountability aspect. You have a little FOMO, which keeps people coming, but then you also are able to watch each other's bodies change as you get to that ultimate place that you want to be. And you might get there way faster than someone else. You may be further along than someone else, but you're still part of the journey alongside someone else. And I think I found that when you do that, you stay engaged, you come back, you still put in the work because you don't want to let other people down. That's really what it comes down to. So for me, it's crafting things like that. It's making sure that I'm working with the best experts. And when I say the best experts, I often find it's people that are what I call bubbling under. It's not the ones that are the loudest and out there and in your face all the time necessarily. It's really people that are really damn competent at their jobs, but aren't, maybe the most social media savvy, or, have the biggest Instagram following or something like that. Or maybe you might have those humongous Instagram followings, but, I'm about cutting to the chase. Having been an executive assistant for really busy and really sort of like time constrained CEOs for so many years, it's all about how much time of theirs that you can maximize. So, if I throw something at them, it needs to be perfect. It needs to be aligned. It needs to be in, as efficient as possible and have the most ROI as possible. So that's pretty much how I build BounceBack, is for it to be, not a bunch of long tail, not a bunch of long-winded this and, stuff where you're just like, oh my God, kill me. It's more of, this is what we're doing. This is your crew. If you stick with this, I promise you, and I've already proven the model, because I actually do the work, by the way. I've proven the model. And if you stick with it for, a month, 2 months, 6 weeks, whatever, you will get, at least this result. And I think that's really sexy to people. If you can really tell them, all you have to do is just suck it up, stick with it for 12 weeks, and I promise you'll get to your goal, verified by an expert in whatever pillar that is. So for me, back to your question, what am I really working on for BounceBack? It's crafting those experiences. It's amassing those experts. It's putting those things together that I know for a fact will work without fail. If you put in the work, you will get the result. To me, that's really what I'm working on. I don't have time, and people know this about me. If you know me, I don't have time for whiners. I don't have time for people who aren't serious. I don't have time for looky-loos. It's not my thing. Plenty places on the internet for you to find that and waste your money. You won't waste your money at BounceBack. In fact, you'll probably 10x, the experience and the ROI that you get from your money by being with BounceBack. And I've designed it that way. I've done that my entire life, and I'm really doubling down on doing that at BounceBack. So when we launch in December of 22, I will have all of that stuff baked, just in time for New Year's resolution time, so that when New Year's hits, we already got like a little bit of a lead, and then we can really hit it. And I want a whole lot of success stories by the end of 2023, because I think it's going to be an epic year for a lot of us. So that's the plan at the moment.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I can tell you did, since last time I interviewed you, you did tour around giving talks. I can tell because you're covering like the question, but also like the next three questions I had to where it's like, I almost feel like I'm not doing my job because I'm running out of like all the questions I had in my mind prepared with. But one question I still do have to ask is how do I word it? It's basically can you talk more about why there's a need to bounce back? Like, what is the state that people are in that they're in when they would begin with bounce back, and then ultimately, what's the state, the goal state at the end of the process?
It's a good question, and it's worded great. I think, like I'd mentioned, I think everyone deserves a bounce back. And when I say bounce back, I mean, it could be anything of, like, I thought about it and I'm like, it has taken me, I just looked at old Facebook posts, for instance. I've had this 15 pounds on me since 2017. And really, it's not that difficult to get rid of. Let's be honest. I mean, cut out the champagne and french fries, switch over to more salads instead of some of the things that I choose to eat, put in the work at the gym, be consistent, change your relationship with food, all that. But I've not done it. And using myself kind of as a guinea pig in that regard, I really wanted to break down why. I consider myself a successful human being. I mean, when I say successful, it's not about making millions and all that. If you want to do that, great, good for you. And I have tons of millionaire friends and a couple of billionaire friends, all that. Yay them. But it's more around, I want people to be the most successful versions of themselves. So like even just taking that example, how can I help people get rid of that 15 pounds and do it myself? You know what I mean? And not just do it once, do it in such a way that it's completely sustainable. You'll never see that 15 pounds again. That to me is what Bounce Back is about, because, we can all go on every single crash diet on the face of the planet. And I know I've gone on many, I know friends that have gone on many, lost the weight and then gained back an additional 5 pounds from what they, what they had already lost. So my thing with Bounce Back is, okay, how do I give people the tools, the community, the accountability to be able to do that, not only just to achieve that particular goal, but to make it stick over time. And I think you can actually do that even with your finances. How many of us are completely in the black? I don't know very many people who are completely out of debt. I mean, maybe 2 people out of the the tens of thousands that I know, right? So I'm a big believer that if I can figure out a way to help people get over those little hurdles, create that little bounce back, be that, you got dropped out of a relationship because you gained that 15 pounds and you want to make someone effing jealous. Okay, I'm fine with that. I'm actually down with it. I'll high five you at the end and we'll drive right past his or her house and be like, hey, what's up? Like it? I know, can't have it. So, that to me is a bounce back. Those little wins, those little things that more than anything, they prove to you yourself that you've made it over. The thing that always held you back, just that little bit. Once you nail how to get over it and to be done with it forever, that to me is what a bounce back is. It's not necessarily like, oh, I lost all my money and now I'm a millionaire again. You know what I mean? Okay, that's one version of a bounce back, but I'm more excited by people getting over those little niggling things that have held them back and caused more problems than they think: incompetence or lack thereof, in unhealthy relationship with money, unhealthy relationship with food, uh, having that bleed into their relationships, because they haven't resolved a lot of those little issues that sort of keep them in that place. Because in a weird way, that perceived failure is kind of a comfort zone. You know, I want to wipe that crap clean because I think we can all bounce back and thrive well beyond that. And I think those little tiny things that we sort of just like wipe away as like whatever. Once we really sort of resolve those issues, it's amazing how much further you can go once you're beyond that. And so that's another reason, really, what Bounce Back is all about, in that regard. To the sort of second part of your question, which I just forgot, what was that?
You basically covered it.
Okay,
just in terms of like what does a person who comes in
Yeah.
in a state, let's say,
Yeah.
what do they look like sort of as the success story? Like what does their life look like at that point?
I'd say I've gotten a glimpse of it because I think at one point in life I got everything right. My physical condition was in perfect space. My mind state was great. My money was right. Didn't have a lot of debt, maybe a little bit, but nothing like, tens of thousands of dollars. And I just remember I just felt so light. I felt light. I felt like I was being a good steward, in the world. I was able to help other people, both emotionally, financially. At the time, I think I wasn't a physical trainer at the time, but I was, in such good shape that I would help people come work out with me. I know you're struggling, come work out with me, that kind of thing. So I think I want to create more versions of that. Like, how good would it feel to be part of a community where everyone in that community has nailed all three of those things? And then from that, they can pay it forward. I'm a big believer in paying it forward. Everything that you learn that has given you some form of success, you should pay that forward to the next person who doesn't have that and hope that they do the same thing, and then on and on and on. So if I can help just whatever subset of people that decide to join Bounce Back, if I can help them really nail those three pillars, get them to the point where they are kind of unstoppable. Not that you're always there. That's just life. Things happen. But if I can at least build the energy toward that and get as many people there as possible, I just have a funny feeling it'll spread. It's spreading love, so to speak. And I know that sounds cheesy, but I kind of believe it though. I think there's a way to help people help themselves, but then help people help other people. Someone mentioned to me long ages ago, hurt people. But I'm also a believer that healthy people help make healthier people. And that's kind of the world that I want to live in. I think we all have a duty to help one another in some way, shape, or form. And especially if you've got some version of expertise or an experience that's, really deep and meaningful, pay that forward and help someone else that's a little less fortunate, or a little less advanced or experienced or exposed, if you will. And I find that when you do that, it pays you back exponentially. And that's pretty much, I think, a successful person in Bounce Back would feel successful not by the money that they make or the fact that now they're in the black, they're ripped and and their mind is on point. It's more that they feel that they're now in a space where they truly have self-love and respect. They have everything that they officially need and aren't really concerned with what all the wants out there, and like buying a bunch of crap. Their finances are going in the right direction, and things are settled. If they're not completely in the black, they have very little debt, and that's already a plan to like eliminate that, without this need to spend and buy the biggest and brightest of everything else. They have a retirement plan that is hockey sticking, from an investment perspective, and then they double back to help other people get there. Because it feels good. It feels good when you get there, but it feels even better when you help other people get there as well. And to me, that's what a successful person at BounceBack will be all about. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just as much of a BounceBack participant as I am the creator, because I'm now doubling back with the expertise that I have to help other people figure out, how to get there and how to get to that sort of utopia, if you will, and then circle back and pull people up.
Let's talk about mental health.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about what BounceBack can do in general. We've talked about physical health. Let's talk about the mental health crisis that BounceBack can help address.
Yeah.
And what you see in your own experience around you, where things seem to be going wrong, and how BounceBack can sort of, address these things, what it can do, like how you see BounceBack helping with this problem that's like sort of abstract almost.
It's abstract. And, I also look at it as someone didn't really correct me, but they sort of gave me a different perspective. Instead of calling it mental health, because I think that automatically puts people on guard, I call it emotional health. Because I think in a lot of cases, there is a mental health crisis and a mental health problem, but that's far and beyond anything I could ever touch. I could personally, sort of suggest people go and seek out mental health professionals. But I feel like, where I can help and where BounceBack will help is helping people manage their emotional health. Because I feel that most people, for the most part, have it together. They're not, having a lot of the sort of mental health problems, for instance, that are out on the streets at the moment, or things that really need like hardcore, drugs, hospitalizations and, serious professionals. They really just need support, community, someone, what I call sort of like that online hug, if you will, but then also in-person hugs. those don't suck. But, I think it's really about helping people manage, those what do we call them, the blue meanies, those bouts with just like you're just not feeling right one day or for a series of days, or you just need to feel validated. I know that may sound crazy, but sometimes that validation, knowing that you're on the right track, or knowing that, hey, bud, you're having a bad day. I totally get that. Let's just talk, let's just tell me about it. I'm going to say nothing. I'm going to listen. You just tell me everything. And I find that I've been that person many times just because who I am, I guess. But people are so appreciative because they're like, what I love about it is you didn't try to solve it. You just listened. And I think, sometimes having a community of people who just listen and don't try to solve your problems, being able to sort of meet up in person with someone that might be in a community that's near you and just say, hey, can you just talk? Do you have like, 30 minutes you can spare like after work or something? And knowing that that person has your back and will show up without even a second thought. I think that's where I am with BounceBack, is providing that forum, both online and in person, and being really intentional about that, even for me, with like creating events and meetups and wellness retreats and stuff like that, to again sort of take that online community but make it real by actually putting names to faces in person and being able to get that hug, or being able to high five someone, or being able to I was talking to someone else that I'm bringing in, and doing like what we call that, what does he do? The circle of surfboards out in the middle of the ocean. And he's like, he's a surfer. And he said, you wouldn't believe the depth of the conversations that happen when we're all in a circle, out in the ocean. And I thought about that. And I'm like, that's absolutely beautiful. I don't know a damn thing about surfing to save my life, but I can imagine, I do understand that pull of water. For instance, I'm a water sign. I do understand being in that place that's vast and unpredictable and beautiful. and that sort of just has this connection to you. And I think that could be anything from, just a meetup with, people that want to get their nails done together, or a camping trip, or like a wellness retreat for yoga or whatever else that people are into these days. We'll figure it out. But I just like the concept that it helps you find an emotional place where you're safe, you're respected, people want to hear what you have to say, you want to hear what they have to say just as much. Um, and it's not awkward or weird or governed by anything in particular. It's really just a natural curiosity, a natural, you know, need to help, service, um, all of those things that are very innate, um, to the human experience, really. Uh, that's what I want to get back to, because I think we've moved away from that too much with, online, this, that, and the other. So it's a nice balance. I think, that's what I'm after. Of course, bringing in professionals who can sort of guide conversations, but not solve it. Bringing in, people that have gone through mad traumas, for instance, and hearing how they got over it. I spoke to a Navy SEAL the other day, and I was so bowled over by just the concept of resilience, pressure under fire, watching your friend get his leg blown off, and you're wandering through what's clearly a minefield, wondering, oh, am I next? It's just amazing how, when we get into a place where we've either had to sort of like survive a trauma, or just survive, and that can be anything from just getting laid off and you have no money in the bank, like that's traumatic, you know what I mean? So maybe that's kind of what I'm getting at with BounceBack is, this isn't about, comparing, traumas. It's more around just acknowledging that trauma comes in every shape, form, size, socioeconomic situation, etc. And if we can come together and sort of rally around one another, to sort of get us over those traumas, be it from our own experiences or just listening, then I'm doing it right. Then BounceBack and the community is doing it right. And I think that's really where a lot of that sort of, really sort of dialing in that particular component is going to come from. Yes, I do prescribe, get help if you need it. I have 3 people on speed dial right now who I would be more than happy to pass out their cards to. That's one aspect, but I think community, oddly enough, solves a lot of those very basic problems. The things that eat at us, and we just need an ear, or just to hear someone else's experience and cherry pick the parts that sort of are relevant for our own lives. I think that's really kind of what that particular the emotional health component is all about, and sort of dialing that. So a combination of community and experts. I think that's really what will really sort of create some very, very emotionally healthy people, who, like I said, can then double back and sort of help the rest of the community, people who might be struggling, because they've been able to get over, if you will, and get to a point where they're in a good space.
I'm gonna boost the exposure.
Yeah, I know. I noticed we got some cloud cover or something going on.
Yeah, it didn't get too crazy.
Yeah.
It only went down like about 1 stop.
Oh, okay,
so,
that's not bad.
yeah, I can adjust that in post.
No worries.
There we go. We're back to 0. Okay, so got about 20% battery left.
Okay.
Almost an hour.
Don't need that much time.
Feels pretty good, like
Yeah.
a good amount.
Yeah.
So I would say, and there isn't really anything on my mind that I wanted to ask that I haven't asked. So I would say, is there anything that you want to talk about that you haven't really touched on?
Probably, I'd probably say, we kind of talked about that in this last little piece about the emotional side. One of the things I did want to talk about is like men specifically.
Yeah.
So one of the things that sort of came up, and I think it's because I do a lot of mentorship, but I also have, work with a lot of engineers, for instance, and friends, and a lot of these people are male, and I'm a dude too, so it's kind of easy to sort of have these conversations. But what I find is that um, there's a lot of, or it seems to be a bit of, how do I put this, unrest, if you will, among men now. There's a lot of different sort of expectations. There's this almost, I won't say an attack on men. It's not that at all. But to be honest, there's been a bit of just indecisiveness because of like movements like Me Too, which were necessary. Uh, but also, really trying to figure out as a man in today's society where you kind of fit in, and how you should fit there. When you're being called into question constantly, when you have to sort of really watch your P's and Q's, when you're in these particular either conversations or whatever else. I mean, if you think about it, men kind of have a hard time right now, and I don't want to take anything away from women, of course, because trust me, they've had a much harder time over many decades, if not centuries. But what I'm finding is that men are just kind of not sure what's the right way to be, if that makes any sense. And the reason I mention this is because, with BounceBack, one of the things that I wanted to do to sort of help with this is to have trips. I call them bro trips, and then for women, of course, I call them girl trips. And of course, there's you can mix and mingle. It's not that deep, but it's just kind of fun. But I do find that sometimes when you are surrounded by men, you can really talk openly and be really honest and candid with your comments and really sort of get it out. I mean, I think sometimes, as much as we want, to have everything in life be integrated, sometimes it's very, very important that specific groups can just talk amongst themselves, because then it allows them to really, be honest and be, completely honest, radical candor, or I like to say. But also, I find that you will find others that have your exact same issue with different names attached. You know what I mean? And to be able to give men specifically, but also women specifically, that forum where they can just speak without any judgment, without any fear that it's going to get back to so and so. It's more of just that one place they can go to find that answer, or that connection, or that community, or even just kind of lurk a little bit and hear what other people are going through, and sort of apply that to your own situation. That's golden. It's golden. It's no different with what I have in my head for girl trips, where you can kind of go away. Hopefully you can find babysitters for the kids if that's necessary, but where you can go away and just be with women and hear specifically about the plight, what they're going through. Women have much different issues, and in my opinion, much more complex issues than a lot of men do, especially in business. And those, I've worked with women, for a majority of my career, and I'm in, for a majority of my career, I was in a profession that was mostly women. It was 95% women and 5% men. I know a lot of the issues that they were going through in business, and a lot of the biases that they're not necessarily wide open and part of the conversation, but I see it. I see the microaggressions. I see the misogyny. I see all that stuff that is not sexy enough for print, but happens on a daily basis, and actually keeps women, from really being allowed to be their true, authentic selves in business. So how wonderful would it be to be with a group of people, to sort of talk through, not just talk about those situations and, complain about them or whatever else, but really to sort of hear from other people that have found strategies around that, or found strategies in order to get to a place where they feel empowered again and ready to sort of take it on, as opposed to feeling victimized by it. That's it's again not to create separation and not to create like, some sort of Chinese wall, but it's more, I want people to feel that not only within the community they have support, but within the sort of like, separate factions of those communities, they can find exactly the type of support that looks like them, that breathes, walks, feels like them, and be able to sort of usurp any sort of wisdom, if you will, from those communities, those little subsets, to bring back to the larger community and to then bring home to, their husbands, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, family, kids, all of that. Can't really do that, all the time in a blended community, because you're not telling the full truth when you're blended all the time. Sometimes when you're just with the boys and girls are just with the girls, that's where the truth actually comes out. And then you find ways to integrate that truth. And you're also showing up as your true authentic selves, because then you're not trying to, fit a narrative in order not to either stand out or get called out, that kind of thing. So that's one of the bigger components of things that I wanted to do with like the live events, is really allow people the opportunity to sort of like really, split off and be among their own very sort of specific tribe with their own specific problems, and get whole, if you will, and then come back together. That to me is a big component of that. So that's really what a lot of the live events are, the bro trips, the girl trips are all about. I just think I think it'll be great. Some may disagree with me. I don't really care, but I know how I am, and I know in my heart how it should go. And until I do it, it's just a curiosity, but I'm pretty intuitive, and I have a feeling it's going to be one of the most fun parts and one of the most registered and attended parts of Bounce Back.